Lot.
Episode a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This is episode 20. Really, it's sort of 22 if you count the little half episodes. So this is episode 22 of Masks of Nyarlathotep, and we are joined by our normal crew, except Doc is not here. But we're here, and after a couple of brief side missions, or if you will, or just little side sessions, um, we are ready to embark. So, hold on just a second. So, what I am going to do is fast forward to the next morning, unless anybody had anything extra to do from the previous evening. Just as a very brief recap, you guys all met at a pub met across from the Diamondback Club at a pub and to stake out the place and watch for Edward Gavigan, and you did see him leave, and so Natalia and Alan left to trail them, and at that point the other three of you went home, Alice to her home and Thaddeus and Shelley back to the hotel. So Thaddeus and Shelley, I assume nothing happens back at the hotel. Wink, wink. Before the next morning? Guess not. Okay, so it's the following morning, and you are down getting your breakfast, and there is a one of the people from the front desk comes into the dining area and asks for Mr. Pepin.
Mr. Pepin isn't here yet. Could I take a message for him?
He says, I have a message. He received a phone call. He looks at the message and he said, what would the message say, Alice?
It would say, from Alice H., please come to my loft at your earliest convenience.
Yep. So he reads that. And hands it to you, Shelley. The little note.
She'll take it and read it and thank the man. Leave him a tip.
All right.
Has Natalia come down yet?
Natalia would have been a bit late this morning, as she eventually does come down. She likes to be kind of... As she moves, you can tell one side might be a bit more sore than the other. She's walking with a slight limp. As she's looking...
my.
She's looking a bit more pleased with herself than she usually does, and she kind of sits down, kind of grimacing a bit as she sits. And she grabs a scone off the table. Good morning, Shelley.
Good morning. You seem to be in a strangely good mood for someone limping. Did you take a fall last night?
I did, actually. As we were following, you know who, there was a bit of ice and, my clumsy feet, fell out from under me.
Oh, well, I hope it's not serious.
No, I just feeling it more this morning than it was last night. But I'll be alright.
Shelley kind of crumples the note in her hand. Alice wants us to meet at her place later. Something's detained her. But I can't wait to ask. What happened last night?
And Natalia smiles a bit and takes a bite of the skull. Well, and I followed. Pretty sure we weren't spotted. He didn't seem to look back, so I think we're in the clear. It was strange. Gavigan did end up walking by Alice's apartment. Not very close, but it was nearby. Did find out the building where he lived, though he does have a doorman, so I could not go any further without, I think, arousing suspicion.
Where? Where was this?
It was, oh, this is again the Grosvenor house, I think it was.
Yep.
Grosvenor?
Yes, it's at the end of a street near a park.
And it was a residence.
Yes, it was like a multiple little what is it? Like apartments? I think it was like
Yeah,
suites.
mostly.
I did not get to see inside one, so I cannot confirm. But I did not want to press too hard with Ellen.
Oh, of course not. Speaking of Alan, she says, raising an eyebrow at Natalia.
You can see Natalia's cheeks pinken a bit. She looks off to the side. What about him?
Oh,
I guess we're going to...
did you enjoy your time with him?
Well, yes, it was a nice walk. He walked me back as well. Talked a lot about family, about where we come from. It was refreshing.
Shelley just grins really, really wide at Natalia's, slight discomfort, but obvious pleasure at the memory. Well, I'm glad. I would hate for you to have hurt your ankle and had a bad date as well.
Yes, as would I. He seems to like to go for walks and stalk people just like me, so I think there's something there.
Shelley laughs at that. Not a combination you run into every day.
No. But that is about all that I found out about Gavigan. I didn't want to push too
Oh.
much.
No, of course not. This was just information gathering, and we know more than we did.
Yes, I do hope Miss Hall is okay.
Yes, she didn't leave any details, and Shelley hands the note over.
And she uncrumples it. Oh, it was okay. And she uncrumples it and reads it. Oh, interesting. I wonder if Thaddeus is up yet.
You're not surprised he's not up. It's a very gloomy day. In fact, it's already raining outside.
Well, I suppose we could leave word for him where we've gone.
Or we could go wake him up and get him out of bed.
We can certainly try.
Oh, either he will get up willingly or unwillingly. Either way.
Well, let's give it a try then.
Natalia nods and takes another scone before getting up.
Alright, you're going to go and try to wake up Thaddeus.
Thaddeus.
Alright, how successful are they, Thaddeus?
Well, are they knocking? I suppose they're knocking.
Yeah,
Banging.
yeah, Natalia knocks very, very aggressively.
Thaddeus!
You would hear a couple bottles clean around and kind of like some shuffling. I'll be right there. And he'll get up and go over to the door and open it as he's tucking in his shirt. I must have overslept.
Mm. Natalia will look him up and down. Yes, overslept. You look untidy.
Yes, well. I was in good company that. Speaking of company, how did everything go?
Natalia's gonna pause that for a moment. Uh, I will inquire about that later. But speaking of my evening, it went very well. Finding out where Gavigan is staying, living.
Ah,
Not the exact room, but I do have the building.
better.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I said that's better than where we started then.
The And what was that good company
Thaddeus
comment?
looks down at the floor where there's a bottle laying. Just the usual.
Ah,
Oh,
Yes.
there I thought there was more to that. Mm. She shrugs.
Uh, yes, well, apparently not, unless someone's hiding in my room somewhere.
Hopefully, yeah, that feeling is very unpleasant. Um, we did get a note from Miss Hall. She would like us to meet at her flat, she called it. I assume that is the apartment.
Ah, well, then we should stop wasting.
Yes, you can tuck yourself in on the way.
And he kind of does this air and stuff.
All right. An hour later, after Thaddeus is ready. No. Yeah. He has no butler or valet to help him. It's difficult.
Shelley will brush the lint off of his, the back of his coat and the shoulders and straighten it out.
Yeah. All right. So you get ready, and it's easy enough to have the concierge get you a cab, or the doorman rather probably gets you a cab, and you make it over to Alice's, unless you have something else you're planning.
No, she sounded like it was a as soon as possible thing, I think, so.
Okay. So you drive over in the rain and arrive at her apartment building, and you knock at the door, or you can ring, and Alice, you kind of know that someone's there. So I assume you go to the door to receive them.
Of course.
You're out in the hall.
So
past-
did they
past
like
Mrs.
go to the door of like the building?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
I've got to
they're-
let them up to my
Right,
room.
they're at the building door, and you have to go past Mrs. Hudson's apartment to get to yours.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. I apologize for not quite explaining myself. It's been an interesting night.
How so? Is everything all right?
Everything's fine currently. Habiba and her son came to my home last night. Um, Habiba said that a cat was nailed outside their door, and the last person that happened to was killed. So she came to me for help. I'm trying to keep them safe and keep them optimistic, but I'm not entirely sure what to do.
Shelley looks around for a place to sit, looking
There's
really concerned.
there's nowhere to sit in the hall out here. It's actually a pretty cramped hallway.
Oh, okay. What happened? Who's threatening her and why?
She thinks it's those of the shameful house, is what she called it.
Should we
I
go
think that-
inside instead of talking this hallway?
I suppose
You can
so.
see that Mrs. Hudson's door has cracked open just a little bit, and she's looking out at you curiously.
Good morning, Mrs. Hudson.
Oh, dears. Good morning. Well, it's a morning anyway. A typical London morning. I see you have more guests.
Yes, these are my friends. Shelley, Natalia, and Mr. Pepin.
I see. A regular party you're going to have, are you?
Not quite. I apologize for any inconvenience that this causes, but we'll be quiet.
Yes, well, I'm sure you will. And she just kind of stands in her with her door open a crack, just kind of smiling out at you, but not moving.
Shelley
Please.
gives her a little wave.
She just kind
Alice
of
will Alice will gesture down the hall for them all to go to her loft.
And Natalia will follow her hand and make her way down.
as you've passed, you hear a little and the door closes.
It isn't a good idea to be talking about these things so openly. Especially
Right.
with listeners.
You never know who's listening, I suppose.
Yes.
Let's continue talking at my loft. It may be a bit difficult, but we'll try.
Well, better than nothing. Better than the hallway.
Alice will lead them to her loft, and you guys have been there before, so you're familiar with kind of where it is, but as she opens the door, you can hear a young child's voice kind of talking in Arabic, and his mother, Habiba, kind of speaking to him, like softly but sternly. And Alice walks in and kind of switches to Arabic. I've brought guests.
They both look up. Habiba's expression is kind of blank. It's kind of hard to read her emotion right now. She just kind of looks up at you. Kafiri looks up, and as soon as his eyes fall on Shelley, he gets the biggest smile, and he just jumps up and runs across the room.
Shelley startles for just a second and then smiles back and opens her arms to meet him, takes his hands.
And you can see he's immediately a little embarrassed. Like he wants to. You can see, he wants to just be all cuddly and but he's suddenly a little shy and kind of looking at your face, but he's still smiling and he's kind of swaying back and forth a little bit.
Shelley kneels down a little bit and looks at him, not really knowing how much he's going to understand, and says, "Oh, it's so nice to see you again." Kafiri was his name, right?
Yes.
Kafiri. I'm so glad you came to visit. We will have to play soon. But I think first I need to talk to Alice, and she points to Alice.
He, yeah, it's not entirely clear that he knows what you're saying, but he doesn't really seem to care too much. He just, when you point though, he kind of reaches up with one hand and grabs your other free hand, and just kind of holds on to it and sort of stands at your side.
Oh, she doesn't pull away immediately. She thinks for a minute, and she pulls out her notebook and some of her sketching pencils. And she says, Alice, can you ask Kafiri to draw me some pictures of the game that we played last time? The horses and the soldiers.
Alice smiles at Shelley as she kind of takes the notebook and the pencils, and she kneels down closer to Kafiri and kind of translates and hands the stuff to him, or
Okay.
offers it to him at least.
Mm-hmm. He says, "Is the pretty lady going to play with me?"
She will very soon. She just has to talk to me for just a moment, but she will play with you very soon.
Okay. Habiba, he seems unsure. Habiba kind of intervenes and says, "Kafiri, do as you are told and go draw some pictures." And his mother telling him, he kind of reluctantly goes off to the little drawing table there, or the little side table, and stands there with the paper and starts drawing. And pretty soon he's kind of lost in that. It seems like he's forgotten that he didn't really want to do that.
Okay. Alice will speak to Habiba quickly. I'm just going to tell them about what happened, and we will speak with one another to find the best way to help you and Kafiri. Please give us just a moment.
She just nods. Says, "As you wish."
Alice nods back. Okay. She switches back to the Queen's English. So,
So, Natalia's gonna find a place to comfortably
There's a
either
nice
sit.
spot next to a fireplace. It is very chilly this morning.
Natalia's gonna take that, sit down.
so Habiba's husband apparently turned away from Allah and religion to worship a new god, alongside a group of people who are known as the Shameful House. They're people that have turned their backs on Allah and are worshipping something unknown, something evil, it seems. Habiba tried to ask her husband about it a handful of times, but he struck her each time, so she learned to stop questioning him.
Shelly.
What were
Shelly
you?
just looks at Habiba with the narrowing her eyes with kind of a hard look on her face, but then looks back to you and kind of does the go on hand motion.
Yes, I asked if she knew any of the other members of this cult, and she said that her husband once brought some men back to their home, but she didn't recognize any of them. The only other time she saw them again was once she, I believe, followed her husband to the Blue Pyramid Club, and she saw them there again, and it is apparently known that many of the Shameful House congregate there. In her eyes, it is a place of sin and shameful pleasures. The owner, Abdul Nawisha, pretends to be religious in order to fit in with the community around him, to appease those around him, but he isn't actually. She says that he is a man of the flesh and has very European tastes. She mentioned that her husband was greatly distressed in the last days of his life. He was always in a bad mood and unhappy, and it seemed like something was deeply troubling him. She heard him mumbling under his breath that he would find a way to fix things, but then he ended up being murdered. The last time she saw him alive, he said that he was going to make everything right, and he would bring money back with him when he returned. But instead he was beaten and killed, just like the others. And she mentioned that everyone else that she knows that has died in the same way was an associate of the Shameful House. And that's what I learned from her.
What was the name of the club owner?
The club owner was Abdul Nawisha, and it was the Blue Pyramid Club. But her talking of the Shameful House reminded me of a passage I once read in my father's notes. She's gonna go and kind of pick up the book where she has those notes, and flip through the pages to get to the point. My father believed that the veneration of the Black Pharaoh didn't end when he died, and that he turned a number of his people back to the old ways and the old gods. They were secret worshippers and outcasts of society, and that the 4th Dynasty pharaohs were concerned with the group and worried that they would undermine their authority and disrupt the norms that they were trying to establish in society. My father cited a passage from a source I'm not entirely sure. The unclean ones were driven into the desert, and no decent persons would give their daughters to them in marriage. Her story just reminded me of that passage, and I thought the Shameful House may be the descendants of that group, the ones that venerated the Black Pharaoh and the old gods in their ways. It's all speculation, but I thought it was important to perhaps mention.
Does seem to be related. What is it that she said made her think that she was... What made her come here?
She awoke one day to find a cat nailed, was it across from her front door or above her door or to her door?
She said it was hanging from her door with its
She found
with
a
its
cat
throat slit.
with its throat slit hanging from her door, and she remembers the only other time she's seen this, it was a warning, a promise that that person would die. She believes that our visit is what encouraged this to happen, and so she came seeking our help and seeking our promise that we would help, and that if anything were to happen to her, that we would care for her son in her stead.
Shelley looks over at Kafiri.
And he looks up from his picture and he gives you a big beaming smile again. And he holds up the picture.
She makes a excited face, but holds up like a wait just a minute finger. We can't let anything happen to them. And she thinks for a minute and then turns to Thaddeus. What's the tuition at that school that Natalia's daughter goes to?
Well, it's not that much. However, it would be expensive to get them too noticed, because if we leave a trail, I'm sure that whoever wants to hurt her would just follow her.
That's true.
You're saying there's a trail to the school, that is.
Go to that school now, but when she has to pass through stuff when she arrives.
I don't know if she would even be partial, even sailing across the ocean away. It is very far.
It is. But she looks over at Kafiri again, but I suspect that she will do what she needs to do to keep him safe.
True, but I would rather... She looks over at Kafiri, and Habiba frowns a bit and looks back to Shelley. Though I do want to protect these two, and especially Kafiri, I don't want anything leading back to my daughter.
That's a fair point. There's more boarding schools than that. I wonder if we could arrange for something. Get them out of the country, get her some sort of a job doing menial labor, perhaps at that school.
But again, like I said, it's down to question of getting them there, and that if these two groups are connected, like we think that it's bigger than New York and bigger than here, they will find her.
I just can't help but feel she'd be safer there than here, where her face is known.
Well, if we
Well,
get her out of the city.
yes, we did be the best bet because remember, as far as local authorities go, and even people
You're
at
breaking
their
up
arrival and
pretty bad, Matt. Or
Mm,
Sim. Does he sound bad to you guys? Like just
Yeah, it's like a sped up.
sped up.
Yeah.
it's like you're breaking up as you speak. It's hard to understand half of what you're saying, unfortunately.
I'm pinging high. I'm at going to red and back right now. I'm at
Okay,
680.
that's why. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's not like we can't understand anything. It's just a little difficult to follow you sometimes.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that is would continue. Even the government officials that she'd have to meet on her arrival, we don't know if we could trust them. And again, we are also targets. So, to get into you back to New York.
That's a good point. I think we should just move them out of the city. Maybe smaller town.
Yes,
A small town, they won't blend in, but any strangers who come looking for them would also be noticed.
yes, this is true. But I don't know. I don't have many contacts here. As you would say, get it moving quickly.
Yeah, you don't really
Maybe
know anybody here.
Mm. We need to
Alice,
go ahead.
do you know anyone trustworthy?
My first instinct would be to speak with my uncle. He has an estate out in the countryside, but I'm afraid doing me this favor would require me to return home as well and stop my exploration and my study of Nefernkar and Egypt. Simply settle down and get married and stop mothering children. I'm not sure of who else that I could trust.
The other thing we need to do is at least discuss to see if we need how we can deal with it in the first place. If the group itself, if they're the ones causing the deaths.
Well, as much as I wanted to be cautious, we do know we got that location. We suspect it to be the spot, right?
Yes, maybe. Mm, this is would be dangerous. Don't know how it'd be perceived either. And since we know where Gavigan lives, we can at least get him alone. Deal with him that way. Or find out what he knows.
Uh, yes.
You said this club, and she'll turn to Alice. This Blue Pyramid Club. It deals with women. European women. Yes?
Yes,
Hmm. Maybe if we can get in contact with the owner. This would require sneaking in, for one. This would require a action plan on how to deal with these people. I don't know if Inspector Barrington is competent, if he is with this group. I don't know how this shameful house and the Gavigans Club, the Diamondback Club, I do not know how they're connected. Why they're connected. Maybe it's some sort of upper echelon kind of thing. Diamondback Club is giving instruction to the shameful house.
That's possible. It may also just be simply that it would be odd for Arabs to be seen going to the same clubs as white men.
Could be. We need to check them out, but we need to come up with a plan what exactly we're doing. If we're dealing with this in the first place. Because I, I don't know about the rest of you, but this needs to stop. These deaths, this is what Jackson wanted to stop.
And we start at the bottom and not necessarily go to where the upper echelon is, but to go to the locations that we think that they may be using, see what we find.
Scout them out, you mean?
Yep. I mean, he kind of looks outside. Obviously, maybe they're not doing anything yet over there that maybe it'd be
Sorry, can you repeat that?
said maybe we could catch it where they're operating at. Maybe it'd be empty. It's the middle of the day and there's no new. Maybe Gavigan's house.
Break into Gavin. The only problem with breaking into Gavin's house is there's a doorman. I don't know if someone can distract him. He knows my face.
I think
I'm
before all this, we need to consider and decide how we will protect Habiba and Kafiri and where we will keep them. Unfortunately, my landlady knows that they are here and they very possibly could have been followed. Their lives are in our hands and I do not take that for granted. We need to
I
protect them.
we just don't have that many resources over here. I hate to involve your friend, but maybe he knows someone that he feels is trustworthy that could put them up somewhere and watch over them.
Helen?
Yes, not him himself, but maybe he knows someone who he thinks would be up to the task.
I could ask him. Yeah. Speaking of being followed, I did want to mention, and Shigen turns to her. Gavigan, as we were following him, while he was walking, we were following, it was a few blocks away from here that we passed, not directly. Just noticed the area. Yeah, Governor's house. It's at least within walking distance of this place.
Well, that makes sense. I'd imagine he looked for places close to the Penhew Foundation just for the sheer convenience of it. But I am not entirely comforted to know that he lives so close.
Yeah, I thought I'd mention that. Hmm. I could speak to Alan, see if he knows anyone.
Make sure they know that this might be risky. I wouldn't want anyone to go into it unprepared.
I'll need to tell Alan what's going on. Maybe not everything, but more than I have been.
Yeah, I hate the idea of involving him or anyone else, but at some point, we just can't handle it all ourselves.
I agree. I do think that maybe... I don't want to trust the man, but maybe we should speak to Inspector Barrington. Say what we've learned from Habiba. Not exactly. Not where she is, of course. See if we can gauge exactly how helpful this man is going to be.
I think that's a good idea. What do you think, Thaddeus?
If he's with the organization like you suspect, then let's tip them off that we're aware of them and where they are. I'm not entirely sure it's the best idea.
Well, yeah, look at it. If they were followed here, then when we leave with them, they'll just follow us. Really is not working with them. He offer aid. If he is working with them, then obviously the hasten demise would be the indicator of that. But as much as I hate to say, because they are not Paul, we are kind of tied into what we were able to.
I think the fact that he gave us Habiba's information in the first place is a mark in his favor, at least.
I feel we had to get her somewhere. That is, to me, the best option considering how here I don't have any connections anywhere.
Well, I'll speak to Alan then first. See if we can agree. Come to an arrangement. After that, we will move Habiba, speak to the inspector. But
All right.
I think we need to do something about Gavigan.
I think that taking on one man that we know is a better idea than taking on an unknown number of men that we don't know. So I think that's at least a good direction. I think that that's what I would do.
But what are we going to do with him? She looks fairly serious and clasping her hands together on top of her notebook.
Shelley looks over at Kafiri. If he's involved with these sorts of people, these people who not only hurt their own members or murder strangers, but threaten women and children, I think we do what it takes.
Yes, I thank you for your help. I think until we find a better place to keep them safe and hidden, I would like to stay with them. At least stay close to them. I don't want to leave them alone.
Alright.
I'm going to go talk to Kafiri before he loses his
Explodes.
patience.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see he's been getting increasingly impatient, and Habiba has had to kind of, put her hand on him and kind of gently restrain him not to come over. He keeps wanting to burst over there, and she's making sure he doesn't.
So Shelley will head over there and start looking at his drawings and exclaiming over them and
Mm-hmm.
just sort of let him take the lead in whatever game he wants
Oh
to.
yeah, he explains all of his drawings. Um, um, Disturbingly, one of them is a cat, um, and he says something. Alice, you understand what he said. He kind of points to the cat and says something.
Alice's eyes just kind of get a bit big, and she looks towards Habiba, with a concerned look in her eye.
Dahlia looks from Alice to Habiba to Kafiri. She gets up herself. I'm going to go and see if Alan is working. Get this moving.
Thank you,
Of course.
Natalia.
And she'll smile to Kafiri, nod her head to Habiba before she leaves.
Okay. Yeah, Kafiri kind of gives you a quick little wave, but it's kind of a perfunctory wave. He's far too engrossed in showing off his pictures to Shelley.
Alice is gonna kind of kneel next to Shelley and Kafiri. And if the cat picture is nearby,
Mm-hmm.
she'll kind of point it out again. Was this your cat?
He says he fed it a couple of times.
I'm
He says
sorry.
he was my friend.
I'm sorry that your friend is gone. Did you know who did it? Did you see what happened to him?
He just shrugs his shoulders. He says, "Why did they kill my cat?"
Because they are cruel. And they want to scare you. But you won't let them scare you, will you?
He says, I don't think so.
Good.
And then he picks up another picture and he says, I also drew an elephant.
That is a beautiful elephant. And then she'll kind of sit there with Shelley and Kafiri looking over the pictures.
Shelley had seen Alice pointing at the cat and probably seen the change in demeanor from Kathiri and sort of knew what they were discussing, but she just gives Alice kind of a raised eyebrow look and tries to distract Kathiri again. maybe teaches
He's
him.
already distracted again. He didn't really glom onto that too much.
Yeah. She'll try to learn the Arabic words for whatever he drew and
Mm-hmm.
teach him the
Okay.
English one.
Yeah, that gets him laughing because your pronunciation is not great. So he finds it endlessly funny when you try to pronounce things, and he takes great pleasure in correcting the way you pronounce things.
Yeah, kids like that.
And what's Thaddeus doing?
Thaddeus is watching Shirley look at the pictures of the cat, just pondering what the Blue Diamond Club and everything.
Okay. And Natalia, you are, I assume, gonna
To see it.
get a cab to go to the scoop. All right. Let's see. Oops. I just accidentally clicked out of game. I'll be right back. All right. Let's go to this. Let's go to the scoop. Okay.
And
Yep.
she would get out of the cab and thank them, paying the driver and everything, for walking up to the doors of the scoop, and she'll knock on the door.
Okay. Oh yeah, you don't have to knock. You just you just walk in.
She'll knock politely before walking in and popping her head
Yeah, it's the kind of place where you knock politely and maybe somebody looks up as you walk in.
in.
Alan is at his desk, and he kind of he looks up, and when he sees you, you can catch just the hint of a blush, and then he gets up and comes over, and he says, "Really must get you an umbrella. You're soaked."
Oh, yes, I was just hurrying over, so she kind of looks over herself, kind of wringing out her ponytail.
And
Sorry.
I assume you have a coat or a jacket of some kind, so he helps you take that off, and gives you his coat jacket.
And she'll put on her shoulders before.
Says you're gonna catch your death.
I do hope not. Sorry to
nasty.
call on you so early.
He says it's all right. It's noon almost. I've already been working for
True.
hours.
True. Just usually I don't think it's expected the next day for, a woman to come to the gentleman's workplace.
Oh, I understand you couldn't stay away.
Well, not entirely.
He says it loud enough for his coworkers to hear. I can't say as I blame you.
And Natalia's, she's got a bit of a blush on and smiling at Alan. There's something a couple of things that I wanted to ask you. Are you on lunch?
He glances over at Mahoney, who isn't really paying any attention, and he goes, "I am now." And he takes his
Perfect.
cap and his heavier coat, and he says, maybe we should swap. He takes his jacket back and gives you his heavier coat.
And Natalia will put it on.
And he says, we'll just leave yours to dry here. And he just kind of throws it over someone else's coat on the rack.
And Natalia will go over and straighten it up so it's actually hanging.
Yeah.
There, now it will actually dry.
He just kind of chuckles. And he says, where do you want to go?
Well, we can go to that pub again.
Sounds good. And he takes you out. It's a short walk, and he has an umbrella, so it's actually not that not that unpleasant. And you make it to the pub.
And Natalia will go to the same booth that they were sitting at before, sitting in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Hanging up the coat where she can and putting it down where she can.
Okay.
And as Alan sits across, she reaches her hands over, holding like palms up. A few things that have come to light that you might be interested in, and also a request.
A request. All right.
Yes. She kind of looks around. She leans a bit forward, lowering her voice slightly. You see, you know we are looking into this, the beatings, the Egyptian murderers, of course.
Sure.
We think we have found a connection between the people who've been murdered.
Ah.
Do you know of a place called the Blue Pyramid Club?
Sure. I've heard of it. Never been myself.
I would not suggest going.
All right, that's easily done.
It is a group of people who used to worship Allah, apparently, but since turned their back on our gods to worship another. Something that, well, I believe we have run into before in New York.
All right, I'm listening.
Now, Alan, I am going to need you to stop me when I start sounding crazy. Because a lot of this is, well, it seems that way, anyway.
Should I be writing this down?
I don't know if you want to publish it yet, but I would.
He pulls out a pad from his coat and a pencil to write with.
So, well, the owner of the Blue Pyramid Club, Abdul Nawesh, apparently a very prevalent man in his society circles, apparently is a ascetic man of the flesh, donates to the church, but most likely does that to save face, does not fully believe in it. But the most interesting thing is this club. Like I said, the people, it's everyone connected to this club. Every single person have all been people who've been beaten and murdered.
Wait, you're saying everybody that goes to this club ends up getting beaten and murdered?
Everyone with a connection. there's been a woman, I think, who had a connection with them. A dead cat was left outside of her door, and later she disappeared. I do not know if her body was found. But all the murders, I assuming they have either been to the Blue Pyramid, been part of the club, or they at least had connections to it.
That's interesting. What do you think's going on there?
This is where it gets a bit to the crazy side. I assume, based on behaviors of what they've been doing, there's this religion, I would call it. It's more of a cult than anything. These people get together worshipping this god, this old god, I'm assuming.
Sure. Some old Egyptian god?
Yes, not exactly Egyptian, kind of. And she kind of sighs a bit. There's so much I want to tell you, Alan, but I'm afraid you, well, won't believe me for half of it.
He just kind of gives you a little crooked smile, but yeah, you can see he's just not sure where this is going. He says, well, I guess you'll not know until you try me.
True. We have had run-ins with groups like this before. I don't know if this Blue Pyramid Club is the same. All I know is that it's all connected for the murders at least. That is a fact. But in terms of their worship, what they're doing, relating it back into the clubs from New York, or the groups in New York, which again kind of leans in more. We ran into one of these groups. They were in the basement of a African shop. We went to the basement and they seemed to be worshipping something, some sort of god. There was one of them on command almost, with a look from their leader, shot himself in the face in front of us.
He looks rather shocked when you say that, but he's scribbling away. You saw a man shoot his own head off.
Talia nods. She's got a very somber look on her face. She looks up to Al. Yes.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
I also witnessed many people dancing around, chanting in some language I could not understand.
Kind of like primitives.
Yes. I think they were all, except for... She kind of pauses for a moment. Except for the two who were in the corner, trapped. They were white. The rest, I think they were of African descent. They came at us with machetes, Alan. They're not a
Good Lord.
group.
Did
We barely escaped.
He said they just came at you unprovoked? That's
I don't know if it was
strange
completely
indeed.
unprovoked. We were in their worshipping area,
Still,
I
I mean, you
guess.
interrupt a church service. It's not exactly a polite thing to come at someone with a blade.
No. Um, they were the ones who killed Jackson Elias.
All right.
I know a lot of this. There's much missing from my explanation. There is quite a lot of histories and many things in my notes
He
that
says,
relate to this.
I'm getting the gist of what you're saying, but yeah, there's. I assume you've got evidence, some kind of proof of all of this kind of thing. I mean, it's quite a story.
We've only got notes from others. It's not like we could take pictures in the midst of it.
I suppose not.
Mm. But this man we were following last night, Gavigan, he's the one who is the proprietor of the Penhier Foundation. We got into his office and we found a note. This note was from New York, basically warning him about us. And this club that he's part of, the Diamondback Club, we suspect that this might be where some of his operations are. Basically, in the note they said we were causing trouble. And there's words that they used, and then that one of us was blessed. And I say this because they kept talking about how their God communicates with them. All of them. Through dreams, through visions. And they know that we're here. And they know that we're trying to figure out how to stop them.
He kind of takes he sit back for a minute and just kind of stares at his notes and orders another drink. And he said, Jesus, I tell you, this sounds like some story out of a dime novel or something.
I wish
Or
it was.
or the old man would kill me, but something we'd print in the scoop.
I wish it was. Ellen, I truly... I watched one of my friends get slaughtered by these people. It's not some sort of dime novel. It's real. And it's horrible. And I don't know why exactly I'm telling you all this.
I was just going to ask well, why you're telling me.
Well, mostly because of what I am going to ask you next. And I wanted to give you at least some context. There is a woman who is in great danger from the people of the Blue Diamond Club. Blue Pyramid Club, my apologies. We need somewhere for her to stay. She had a cat outside of her door, which means that she will probably be next.
kind of frowns. What do you mean she had a cat outside her door?
It is apparently a sign that they, I'm assuming, have displeased this community.
So she
That's what happened to the other woman. It's before she disappeared.
sounds like superstition.
Superstition, but not something we want to risk. When we went to visit her, we were watched when we left her house. They knew she talked to us, basically leaving threatening messages. It's not something I want to risk considering she has a child.
Try a persuade check at this point. Ooh. Okay. I assume you order a drink as well at some point. Yeah, your drinks have been refilled. He takes a long drink from his pint. And you can see he's thinking. He says, well, I'll be honest with you, Natalia, a lot of this doesn't make sense to me at this point, but I'm sure there's a lot you're not telling me. He says, I may have some friends who might be able to help out that aren't exactly strangers to hiding people.
Talia sighs. That would be fantastic, Ellen.
He says, all right, I'll do some asking around and see what I can come up with.
Thank you.
How long is she gonna have to stay out of the public eye?
We're gonna try and find a way to deal with this group. Hopefully through legal means. That is my goal. We have talked to the inspector.
He looks at you and you can see kind of a worried look pass over his face when you say that.
I don't... that came out wrong. It's... Ellen, I'd like to... This is completely up to you, and I don't want to drag you any deeper into it than you're comfortable with. But if you do want the full story for it to make more sense, I will give it to you.
Alright, maybe not right now though. Maybe another time.
Oh,
It's enough for me
of
to
course.
think about for now.
Of course. Well, you know where I'm staying.
I do. And you know where to find me.
I do.
I'll ask around. It shouldn't take too long. Someone's
Alright.
someone's bound to have something for us. All right then.
Good.
I'll come and find you when I know more.
Okay. And even if you don't, come find me anyway.
Oh, all right. Yeah, of course. And he stands up and puts some money out to pay. And he says, "Well, I ought to be getting back." Says you can keep my coat for now.
Sure. That means you're keeping mine.
Oh, right, right. Well, I'll bring that with me when I come.
And she nods. Sounds good. Um, thank you, Ellen. Again.
He starts to walk away, and he turns back and he says, I don't want you thinking that, you know, you spooked me off or something.
Oh,
I'm just, he says, I've got a lot going on right now, and this is a lot to take in.
of course.
My life's not exactly as uncomplicated as it might seem.
Well, you know I am a psychologist, so if you need a professional opinion, smiles.
He just laughs. He says, I can't wait to be analyzed by you. All right. Anyway, I should go.
Of course.
And he just kind of tips his hat and turns and goes.
And I'll tell you, he's a bit of a sigh before. She's gonna head back to, assuming they're still there, Alice's apartment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let us take a short break. Intermission. All right, we're back from our intermission. So Natalia returns to Alice's flat, where I assume not too much has happened. In the meantime, I would imagine there'd be some lunch. And yeah, scones. So yeah, Natalia, you probably get back just in time for some scraps.
Natalia walks back up and knocking on the door.
Alice will go and open the door for her. Oh, welcome back. How did it go?
And Natalia nods her head. She's not looking as bright spirits as before, but she goes down and sits back in the same chair she was before. Well, good news. Alan agreed. Said that he knows people, knows strangers to hide people.
That's good.
Yes. It might take him a day or two to talk with his friends, but he'll get back to me.
Alice nods. That is okay. We can make do until then.
Of course. So, after that, what is our next move?
I'm not sure. We can check out the Blue Pyramid Club, or continue looking into Mr. Gavigan and trying to find a way to his apartment, or back into his office perhaps.
Yes, I don't think we're gonna be able to get in his office anymore.
I think we should check out the Blue Pyramid Club.
Well, they said that it was women were there, European women, so I suppose we won't stand out right away. Does sound a little dangerous, but as long as we go during the
Yeah.
day.
Let us just be careful and aware. Um, she looks over to Thaddeus. I don't know if you might stick out. You are not very womanly.
Yes, I wouldn't think so.
And she looks over to Shelley and Alice. Um, and she's at this point she's still wearing Alan's coat. Maybe we should um find nicer outfits. I don't know exactly these types of clubs. Um,
Nicer might not be the right word.
then what kind?
Well, did they have flappers in England, Miss?
Flappers. Does Alice know this term at all? Because, I mean, I, as Emma, definitely do.
Yeah, make I guess an intelligence roll. You have not heard that term before.
I'm afraid I've never heard that term.
They're, party girls. And she looks at Alice as if, like, do you understand what I'm
No.
talking about?
Just like you, Alice. Yeah.
I'm afraid that I spend most of my time reading books. I'm not familiar with those sorts of people.
Well,
But they exist in London. This it's a little slow to catch on. That sort of late night music and dancing and drinking, but it is kind of a thing in London. And not only that, but it's legal to drink in London, so it's you don't have to go to speakeasies to do it.
Okay.
It's just never been your thing, obviously.
Yeah. I have heard about people going out at night and drinking and dancing. I've been invited once before, but it's not something I've been particularly interested in.
well, there's a first time for everything. I don't think I brought anything like that, but I'm sure if we went shopping in the right part of town, we could find some things. That too much problem?
All right. Let's get dressed up then. Let's see what the vibes-
Alice, Alice, make an appearance check for me, please, to see if you are aware of, let us say, shops that carry more fashionable clothing for such a thing.
Can I push?
Yes. If you so how are you pushing it? So normally when you push, that means you're doing something further or more extreme or trying a different angle. So what this tells me is you can't think of anything off the top of your head. Like, very conservative shops where you have picked up, very simple, modest clothing, which is not what they're talking about.
Maybe remembering a shop that's out of style if I fail,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
as like the place that used to be hot, but definitely is not anymore.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. So you have an idea. Yes, you have an idea of a shop that you've heard a friend mention. I use the word friend loosely. This is the girl that invited you to go out that time, and you politely declined. And you vaguely remember her saying that she was going to this place. So you just throw that name out and hope that it's something that will be appropriate.
Okay.
So you guys can go there. And if I had an appropriate 20s montage song, I would put that on and throw a bunch of series of pictures of you guys in trying on different outfits, but I don't have that. So yeah. So
Alice.
basically,
Alice is gonna stay at her apartment though.
oh, you're not going.
No, she's not going. It's gonna
Okay.
be like unfortunately I have to stay, and watch over Habiba and Kafiri, but I do wish you three the best of luck.
We'll make sure to get your size then.
Yes. She looks about my size, just a bit taller.
Tiny.
Oh no, please don't worry about it. I'm perfectly okay. I think I have a dress in my closet that I could perhaps wear if I need to.
Okay. It's over to Shelly, fairly uncomfortable. I guess we're going to get dressed up together.
Shelly looks at her and she can't help but smiling, gives a big nod. Makeover time.
Yeah.
Montage trying to outfits get the
Yep,
no.
we're gonna have a
screwed
makeover
over.
montage. Man, I really need some montage music. All right.
Do you have like some of flapper music from a club? I think that would be.
Most appropriate.
I actually don't. When Roll20 killed all of the others, all but the imported stuff, I have had a huge backlog of stuff. I've never pulled in again, so I've got to do that. But so my library is a little thin at the moment. So yeah, I don't really have anything appropriate, sadly.
We'll pretend.
But so you do go shopping. This store that was mentioned, a cabbie knows exactly what you're talking about and takes you. Are you going to, Thaddeus, or are you staying behind? Or what is Thaddeus doing while the girls shop?
Oh.
Oh yes, Thaddeus will have to foot the bill. I mean, yeah, that's a given.
Plus, he has to watch us model the dresses.
Oh, that's true. I guess you're going, Thaddeus.
Yeah, we're bringing you.
I guess Thaddeus is going.
Okay. So yeah, this place seems to be quite popular. There's a lot of young people in here, and by young I don't mean tweens. I mean like 20s and 30s. Women who look the part, you would guess. So you think this is probably a good bet. It's a little expensive. And it's funny because they boast all the latest American fashions. At least they have a lot of that, and that seems to be like the big popular thing. Is it's in at the moment to look American.
Well, then, Probably they don't need a whole lot of guidance. And Shelley knows what these sorts of women wear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can
She'll,
have some fun with that.
yeah, she'll look for colors and styles that she thinks will go best. Might be hard for Natalia. She's a tall, maybe curvier looking woman, but something. What color are your eyes, Natalia? Blue?
Yes.
Yeah, some sparkly blue.
Nice.
Shelley will.
Natalia, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, Natalia will look to Shelly for guidance, and she'll kind of be holding up outfits. As Shelly shakes her head. She puts them back. But she seems very, very lost, and very, very uncomfortable with this whole thing. She's trying to take it in stride.
Top it all off with a headband with a feather in it. And Shelley will find something for herself that fits. With her sort of figure, it's probably a bit easier.
Okay.
Yeah. Afterwards, are we wearing these out of here? Or are we going to change? I don't really want to be seen in this as much as I can.
Well, if we're headed over now, I suppose we should wear it, but otherwise, we can change later.
Well, we might as well head over now. Maybe grab an umbrella while we go. Dahlia takes her hair out of the ponytail and puts on the outfit.
Okay.
I'm just grumpy about the whole thing. This is... Do you really wear this kind of thing?
Do I? Well, no, not yet, but it's kind of, I don't know, exciting to do something different. You will need a little bit of, and she pulls out her compact and some of her cosmetics. May I?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she hussies Natalia up a bit.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys think you look fabulous. Why don't you both give why don't you both give me appearance checks with a bonus die due to the deep pockets and.
Whoops, I rolled the wrong one.
Yes, you did. Although appraise wouldn't be a bad thing to check to see if you got good stuff.
I spent more time on Natalia than
Yeah,
myself.
apparently.
Yeah, yeah.
So as they come out, they see Shelly. Ah, Shelly, where did Natalia go? I see you got a new friend.
Blush. Does he look that different?
Oh, it looks
I-
good.
I would say maybe Shelley was going a little more for a different look than she's used to, maybe. To try to have you had a little bit too much fun.
Yeah, I went a little
It's-
overboard, maybe.
Yeah, you went a little overboard. It's not terrible. Just you failed doesn't mean you look awful. It just means it isn't stunning like you were hoping. Okay. So you have spent a couple hours out shopping. Going back to Alice's?
I think we were... Because, oh yes, going back to Alice's to pick her up.
Okay. And they've been spending a quiet afternoon. I don't suppose you had any special conversations with Habiba.
No, I wasn't really planning on any.
She did ask you at one point if, because she didn't hear your conversation, obviously. She doesn't know what you were talking about. She asks you about whether your friends are going to help them or not.
Yes. She'll kind of talk about the current plan, and that we're like gonna get them someplace safe, someplace that the like bad people won't know about,
Okay.
and someplace where they won't have to worry again.
All right.
But also in her off time, she'll probably try to teach Kafiri a little bit of English.
Okay. He's happy to do that. He says at one point, will it help me to talk to the pretty lady? He still never said her name. I'm not sure
Alice
anybody's
smiles.
ever. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure Shelley will be very happy to hear you speak words she can understand.
Oh, that's definitely an extra motivator for him. So he works. He tries as much as he can.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and then you guys come back when probably when Alice is getting a little tired of the lessons. It's not as fun as you were hoping it would be. And they've returned.
And Natalia again knocks on the door, but she'll step back, not wanting to be the first one.
Alice opens the door. Welcome back. Oh, you
Uh,
both look fantastic.
Shelley laughs a little bit. Perhaps you had better explain to Habiba that this is not normal.
Yeah, you can see the look she's kind of giving you is not incredibly approving. She looks a little embarrassed and kind of averts her eyes and looks back to Kafiri.
Shelley will keep her overcoat on.
Yeah, and you actually make a psychology check for me, Shelley. Yeah. You notice Habiba kind of subtly position herself between you and Kafiri. She just kind of moves over a little bit so that you're not in Kafiri's line of vision.
She's
she's
thinking
very
of this.
she's very actively engaging him in a conversation, clearly distracting him.
She'll button her coat, her long, winter coat over the outfit, and look at her, and then look at Alice.
Alice will just kind of smile awkwardly. It'll be okay. I was thinking while you were gone, perhaps I should stay with here. I don't want the two of them to be alone at night, surely.
Natalia
The
frowns.
problem, this is, people might be speaking Arabic there, unfortunately.
I can always stay and watch over them.
I suppose that's true. Alice kind of frowns a bit, realizing her excuse is kind of not working.
And not only that, but Shelley, you also know from having gone to clubs and that if it's anything like in America, and you're not sure that it is, but if it is, for a group of unescorted women to show up at a club, that's still a little.
Right. We'd
You
be
know, it would be a little.
ladies of the night.
Yeah, it would. You would be treated differently than if you come in the company of obviously a wealthy man who's well dressed and you're with someone. That's different.
I think we need Thaddeus as well. I think that people may make the wrong assumptions about us if we showed up without an escort. We can be there and back as quickly as possible. I don't like leaving them here either, but I don't know what other option we've got. We haven't really gotten word from Alan yet.
It most likely won't be until at least tomorrow. At the very earliest, he has to talk to his friends.
Alice sighs, looking back towards Habiba and Kafiri. If we can hurry back, then I suppose that I can't argue. And she'll say to Habiba in Arabic, I must go for a short time. I'll be back soon, but if someone comes to the door and knocks, do not answer. If I come to the door, I will knock like this, and I do a special knock. Do remember that, and don't answer the door for anyone else.
Okay. Try a charm or persuade check. Or psychology. Your choice, any of those.
I don't think I'm good at any of those, but let me see. Said charm, persuade.
Charm, persuade, or psychology. Any of those are okay.
Okay. Looks like we're going charm.
Okay. You can see she's a little nervous. And you kind of realize you're kind of making her nervous. With your warning and saying, but she's okay. But you get the sense that she's a little concerned now.
Okay. Cool. Well, I suppose we should go then.
Yes, let's head out as soon as possible.
If you don't want to change here and with Habiba, I suppose we could stop at the hotel or something. I don't want her to lose respect for you.
Oh, I was actually...
Yes?
I'm not comfortable in those sorts of clothes.
Do you think I'm comfortable in these sorts of clothes?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I apologize. I was hoping that I could stay with Habiba and Kafiri, and that's what I was expecting my night to be. And I don't
But we
actually
need
have
to.
clothes that I think...
And Shelley pulls out a box.
Oh, you didn't.
She just waggles her eyebrows.
I suppose we should stop at the Ritz then, and I'll get changed.
Natalia's gonna give Alice a bit of a sour look as the two of them kind of exchange giggles together. Alice, I understand you are discomforted by wearing clothes such as this. So am I. But if you do mean to save these two people and actually help them, I would suggest putting your discomfort aside and stop making excuses.
I understand. I just...
Just
They're
what?
not exactly in a safe place currently, and I didn't want to leave them alone. And now they're being left alone.
Sure. That is why. Natalia turns around and just starts walking down, heading outside.
We will be as fast as we can, Alice. That's all we can do.
Alice just is looking past Shelley towards where Natalia left, just kind of staring blankly. She snaps out of it after a second. Yes, of course. Let's go.
Okay. It's, I would say, about 4 o'clock at this point. So you guys head over to the Ritz and you can get ready and head out by 5. Do you want to eat something before you go, or are you planning to try to eat something there, or what?
Nah, that's just gonna make us look bloated.
Okay. Alright, so you head over to Soho. I'd say you get there by about 5:30.
Right. How does Alice end up looking?
Yeah.
I'm sure she's uncomfortable.
Alice, make an appearance check, please. Yes, indeed. With a bonus, because, well, there you go. You didn't even need a
Nice.
bonus.
Did a good job on them.
You
Just lucky on myself.
actually, I mean, I don't know how you feel about how you look, but the others think you look very nice. Very modern.
Thank you. Okay, we can continue now that I know what I look like.
And of course, Thaddeus, you can try a credit roll, rating roll, or an appearance check to give us your. There you go. Looking dapper as always. Yes. All right. So you make it over to the. You tell the cabbie, the Blue Pyramid Club, and he actually kind of raises an eyebrow for a moment, but says no more and drives you over. He just comments as you pull up, and he says, "Watch out for yourselves. This is known to not be exactly a very safe neighborhood."
We like adventure, but thank you.
Well, suit yourself. So he takes your fare, and you can see that when you step out, that you're kind of standing in front of a 2-story building. There's a greengrocer's shop right next. There's a door to a greengrocer's shop right next to it. It appears to be about to close, from the way the that you see there's like hardly anybody in there, and there's one shopkeeper who's kind of tidying up. And the Blue Pyramid Club has no indication that it is as you're taking the cabbie's word for it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There is a door, and he just kind of points to the door there, and then drives away.
Well,
The door just looks like a normal kind of weather-beaten wooden door. And the room or shop or whatever that it's going into, because it's at the end of the block next to this shop, it can't be more than 10 feet wide inside.
so what should we do?
I suppose we go and knock.
Hopefully there isn't some sort of secret knock. I don't know if we should wait to see if someone else goes in.
The rain has died down quite a bit. It's still drizzling, and it's still kind of cold and damp and miserable, but it's not pouring at least.
Do we see anybody else approaching the club?
You do not.
Well,
But I suppose I should lead the way. Get things moving, or at least try.
Okay. Just gonna move you there.
Alice will walk up and
Hold on.
knock on the door.
Okay. You knock on the door, and initially there is no answer. How long are you going to stand there?
Probably about 5 or 10 seconds. And then
Okay.
if I don't feel like anybody's answering, I'll try the door.
It is unlocked. Quite easy
Alice
to...
kind of looks back at the others and gives a small shrug and opens the door. Suppose we just go in.
I
Okay.
guess.
Alright, you open it up, and you can see that it leads into a long hall. And there's a staircase that kind of comes back up towards you from down at the end. You're starting down at the end of the hall, at the end there. And at the end of the hall, there's also doors to what look like an old rickety elevator.
Well, shall we?
we shall. Jilly will walk up to it, and is the elevator up or down?
It is currently up.
Perhaps we should just take the stairs. Not sure that this elevator is in the best position to support the four of us.
Perhaps. All right. Let's take the stairs then. Are we going? We're going down, right? There is
Up.
nothing up.
It's
Oh,
up,
there's an up.
actually. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a second floor. You don't see any way down. Just up.
I'm going to walk over to the elevator, and it's in the up position, and I'm going to look down into the shaft. I mean, is there a... This is like through a cage. This is how it...
Mm-hmm.
Old style, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Can you see
You do not see that you see that it goes down a little bit, but it doesn't look like it would go down far enough for there to be a whole nother floor down there.
Okay. Then up it is.
Okay. You go up the steps. When you get to the top of the steps, you can see there is a window to the outside, which is, I guess, a little comforting because you can see out. You can see the elevator is here on this floor when you look back behind you. And there's actually a living plant in a large pot, a big potted plant, which might be strangely comforting. There's something living here, at least, making the place not look quite so desolate, which was your first impression as you walked in. Everything just seems kind of abandoned and run down. But at least up here it looks a little better. And there is a door along the wall further back where you came from. And that door actually has some frosted glass in the middle of it. So it looks a little fancy.
Should I knock?
No. Maybe we should just see if someone... I don't know. Maybe. Sinajai is very uncomfortable. Really nervous in here.
Well, seeing that they're hesitant, Shelley will try to take a deep breath, remember what it was like to be a young, somewhat party girl. She was probably not quite there, but probably had been to a club once or twice. And walk up and try to open the door.
Yeah, it opens quite easily. It seems to be a well-used door. And as you open the door, you immediately hear the sounds. Think of it as like maybe a restaurant that hasn't opened yet, and there are preparations going on. You can hear low conversation, some people walking around, clinking of china, and that sort of thing. You get the definite impression that things are not in swing at the moment. And in fact, there's like a little doorman's station right beyond the door, like a maitre d', and there is a man in a tuxedo standing there, and he kind of looks up as you open the door. And kind of raises his eyebrows like, yes?
Oh, it looks like things haven't even yet. And she looks over at Thaddeus, puts on kind of a whiny pout.
He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a pocket watch and looks at it, and he says, we don't open for another 20 minutes or so. He says, are you members?
No, sorry, we are not members. With establishment from the word of mouth of some people. Let me introduce myself. My name is... Let's see, we decided to vacation...
I'm sorry, what did you say? Your name is Thaddeus?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, because you're breaking up again.
Oh.
So, okay. He nods and he says, he kind of gives the four of you an appraising look. And he says, well, do come in. And he says, this is a private club. He said, if you're interested in membership, you'll have to meet with Mr. Nawisha. And assuming he approves, there is a £5 one-time fee for each of you for a membership. Is that something you're interested in?
£5, you say?
Yes. What the Thaddeus is saying is yes.
Very well. Follow me if you would. And he takes you to a door on the left. There's a door on the right, door on the left, and then you can see down, if you kept going, there is a set of double doors that are currently propped open, and you can see a very large dancing room with a stage currently unoccupied, although there's there's some lights being set up and some people kind of moving around getting things set up. And he takes you to the door on the left and opens it and shows you in, and you can see that it's like a little dining room with a few sets of tables with pairs of chairs, like little tables for two, and a small bar currently unoccupied, and you can see there is a man sitting at one of the tables with a woman kind of in animated conversation. And when the doorman sees that they're talking, he just kind of puts up a hand and kind of directs you back out of the room. Who is first going in?
Natalia
Would
take no
okay.
one else.
Would you make a spot check or a spot hidden for me, please? Okay. Yeah, he just kind of guides you back out of the room and closes the door behind him. He says, Mr. Nuisha is occupied at the moment. If you would be so kind as to wait. He says I can take you into the lounge if you'd like to have a seat.
That would be wonderful, thank you.
He takes you across to the door opposite on the other side of the hall and takes you in. It's a very nicely appointed room. There are some couches and overstuffed chairs in front of a fireplace and a nice mirror and lots of Egyptian sort of statuary and wall design, paintings on the wall and that sort of thing. And he directs you to have a seat. And he says, if you'll just wait here, Mr. Nuisha will be with you shortly. And he just kind of nods. Alice, you can attempt a spot hidden. Actually, I'll attempt the spot hidden because I don't want you to know. All right, so I've made a spot hidden check for you. Nothing seems out of place. It's kind of what you would expect. There's a lot of traditional, non-controversial Egyptian imagery and stuff in here.
Okay.
But it's
Disappointing.
definitely on an old Egyptian style. It's nothing Muslim. It's not a Muslim Egypt style. It's an old Egypt sort of theme.
Okay. Got it.
And as they're kind of sitting there alone, Natalia leans over to Thaddeus. We're not doing that haggling stuff again. Got us into a huge argument last time.
Sometimes it's expected, but I think £5, maybe not.
And, Tali just kind of sits up, hands in her lap, looking over the others. This will be interesting, hopefully.
You wait about almost 15 minutes, and the door opens, and a man steps in, and he looks right at you, and he comes in. He looks a little perturbed and distracted. And he walks over and he says, he looks at Thaddeus and kind of puts his hand out to shake Thaddeus's hand. And he says, "I'm very sorry to have kept you waiting, sir."
No, it's no.
He says, "Abdul Nawish, proprietor of this establishment."
Yes. No, this looks like a fine establishment indeed.
He says, "Well, we try." And he gives you a rather plastic smile. And he says, "So, I am given to understand you are interested in joining the club."
Yes, most definitely. From what we hear, this is a great club to.
And were you referred to the club by anyone in particular?
No. It was more just in passing and hearing.
He says, he puts a hand to his chest and he says, "I am deeply touched. We're not well known around the city."
Oh, well. Maybe not, but it seems to strike a chord to some people interested in Egyptology.
So you have a love of my country. That is again very touching. He says, "We are not exactly traditional here." He says, "It is a place of enjoyment. We cater to both the tastes of my people and yours." And he smiles.
Well, then this sounds like to me that this is the right place to be.
He says, "If you enjoy having a good time, then you have come to the right place."
I'm in.
He says, "You all look like very fine people. There is a one-time membership fee of £5 apiece. If you are interested, we will issue you a membership card and you can sign our membership book. And then you would be welcome. We are open from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. every night. You are welcome to come any night."
Yeah. That sounds like He's gonna smile back at him.
He steps back to the door and opens it, and he says, "Omar, if you would be so kind." And he says something in Arabic. Alice understands. He says, "Bring some membership cards and the membership book." And he comes down.
Shelley's gonna lean over to Alice and say, and she's whispering.
Yeah, he's a little distracted at the moment. Yep.
I don't know if this is relevant, but Omar Shafir was the owner of Habibus's property in Soho. I'm sure Omar's a very common name, though.
Yes, I believe that was correct. I'll try to listen and see if I can learn this man's name.
Okay.
Perhaps don't let on that you can speak Arabic, though.
Alice just nods.
So Abdul comes back and he says, "Omar will be with you presently. He has the cards for you and the book for you to sign." And he says, and he will take your one-time fee, and then you're welcome to stay the night. We are very close to opening, so you may as well stay and enjoy it. And he says, "But if you'll excuse me, I have many things to do in preparation." You understand, of course.
Yes, that works just fine.
And so he just kind of nods and puts his hand out to shake your hand again, and he goes. And Omar comes in almost directly after him, and he's right down to business. He has some cards for you each to fill out, and he has a not guest book, but a membership book, large book for you to sign, with a pen ready to hand.
Of course, Thaddeus would pay the fee and sign his name down.
Okay. I assume you all fill out your cards and sign the membership book.
As Daddy is signing the membership book, she's going to take a quick glance at some of the names. Is it like multiple pages, like with multiple names?
Oh
on
god,
it?
yeah. Yeah, there's many pages.
So the page she's on, she's going to kind of quickly take a peek at some of the other names while she's signing her own name.
Okay. Why don't you try... I think in your case a library use would work. You're used to quickly scanning long lines of things. Yeah, you catch a bunch of names in there while they're doing that. You notice a mix of Egyptian and European names. You would estimate the mix to be at maybe 3-to-1 Egyptian to European.
Okay.
As Omar hands me the card to fill out, Alice just speaks up and says, "Thank you, Mr."
He says, "Oh, you can call me Omar. Everyone just calls me Omar."
Oh, very well, Omar. And she'll take the card and fill it out.
Mm-hmm.
They're not taking IDs or anything,
Oh,
right?
good God, no. No.
Yeah, so...
He's just letting... You can fill out any name you want on here.
Yeah, if Alice, is starting to fill out her real name, Shelly's gonna, nudge.
Alice was definitely starting to fill out her own name. And it's too late to really...
I would say she
change
got
kind of
through
most of
Alice.
her
Yeah,
first
she's
name.
already started with Alice. And
Right,
probably the H as well.
Alice Hauser.
Yeah.
Humphrey.
Alice Howell.
Okay.
And then, yeah, she'll turn that in when she's done.
Okay. And sign the book. Signed her name. Yes. Shelley.
By the time
Shelley,
it gets to Shelly, she'll write, Sheila something.
Yeah.
And she'll go back and review everybody else's, and if Natalia wrote...
Oh,
her-
yeah.
well,
Natalia and Thaddeus wrote their real names.
Look, if they're looking for us, they'd know we're here already.
Yeah, well, I don't want them to know my name. They probably know your names already. Anyway, she'll like turn Pepin into Poppin or something, but there's not much you can do with a long
Not a
Russian
lot,
name like
no. And
Natalia's.
what name are you going by?
Sheila Stein.
Okay. All right. So he takes all of that, and the cards are for you, he says. And the book he takes back, and he says, really, we're quite ready to open, but I'll give you a very quick tour. He says, we're a popular place among those who know about us, but he says you'll find that it's very easy to get around. He says this is the lounge, as you can see. This is a much more quiet area for more intimate conversation or other entertainments of that sort. He says opium is permitted and can be provided if you are interested, as long as you keep it to a reasonable minimum. You must leave by 1 o'clock. We don't. This is not an opium den. And he says, if you follow me, and he takes you across to the room you were originally in, and he says, this is our very intimate dining area with its own small bar. And he points that out. He says we bring food in off premise. We do not have our own kitchen, but it is good food if you're hungry. And then he takes you, and then takes you down to the end of the hall, and he says, and this is our grand ballroom. And you can see it's not quite as big as maybe you imagined it to be from the outside, but they have positioned mirrors along the walls, very large mirrors that kind of give the illusion of the space being much bigger than it really is. There is a stage on the opposite wall. You can see that there's no backstage. This is not like some huge club. But there is a nice large bar off to the left when you step in. But in here it looks like the whole thing, this is where people dance. And you can see some musicians, some traditional musicians kind of setting up and chatting. They look Egyptian. And you would say that the majority of the employees here have a very Middle Eastern look to them.
Have
But
other
then-
people?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, have other people started to arrive?
There is one person standing at the bar, kind of chatting with the bartender. You're not sure if he's a guest or an employee, but he looks a little finely dressed to be an employee, but he could be. Omar is
Alice?
certainly nicely dressed.
Let's go get a drink and maybe sip it together by the bar while those gentlemen have a conversation they think you can't understand.
Very well. And Alice will step away, walking up towards the bar with Shelley.
Okay. Yeah, this is what the guy looks like. And he's speaking in Arabic to the bartender. So Alice and Shelley are going there?
Anyone who wants to go, but I just wanted Alice to get over there.
Divide and conquer.
You said there was opium on the premises, right?
Yes.
He
I
did
believe that's
mention
what's
that.
mentioned.
Divide
Okay.
and conquer.
I thought you were gonna go for a stroll.
Thaddeus will follow, interested in scenery.
Okay. So Omar is done showing you around. He says, this is the club. He says, you are welcome in any part of the club. If you need any assistance, you will find me by the entrance where you found me before. And he says, I hope you enjoy your evening. And then he leaves you.
Well, it's 7 hours until they close.
Only have 7 hours then.
Well, should we be you and enroll?
I agree. She looks over to Shelly and Alice heading up to the bar. Why do we not explore then? See if we
Yes.
can meet any other fine folk.
Thaddeus kind of look. What's going on?
Okay. A few people have started kind of coming in, mostly men, but 1 or 2 women out of probably 15 people in the first maybe 15 minutes.
Shelly and Alice go to the bar, and Shelly will, ask what they have, or just ask for whiskey if it seems
Sure.
obvious.
They have a pretty full bar, and they have a lot of European liquors.
Oh, I'm a bit lost. Alice, why don't you order for us?
She'll order 2 just kind of pretty well, no. What kind of Egyptian drinks would she be aware of? Or are there any particular Egyptian drinks that
I'm sure there are, but the thing is, see, officially, alcohol is very frowned upon in Muslim Egypt. So, Egyptian alcoholic drinks are not really a.
Okay.
There are some, but it's not like there's a whole wide variety.
Gotcha.
At least certainly
She'll
not
order,
not that you know of, certainly.
Yeah, she'll order 2 like martinis or something.
Yeah, and that's easy enough. They
Basic.
definitely, the bartender seems to recognize just about anything you would ask for. He's clearly catered to all sorts of customers.
Okay. And she very carefully, she orders it in English.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay.
And after that, Shelley will just sort of make idle prattle to Alice and, let Alice kind of drift and listen to anything else going on.
Okay. Alice, why don't you? Okay, we'll say over time. I'm gonna let you make a listen check at some point
Okay.
to kind of sum up, what you overhear, if anything interesting. Natalia and Thaddeus, it sounds like maybe you're heading to the lounge. If I
Well,
understood
Thaddeus-
Natalia's intentions.
Thaddeus for drink. He would order some absinthe and actually get Natalia one too,
Okay.
and then go into the.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's not hard to get hooked up with some opium if that's what you're interested in.
Yep.
Okay. You do that. I take it you are not a very experienced opium user. I didn't
Not
get the
at all.
impression that Natalia was. Okay. It's not super cheap, but it's not way above what you would have expected. They have to pay for it. And Thaddeus can certainly afford it.
Yes. Copious amounts.
Okay. Alice, why don't you make a listen roll for me? Okay. You don't overhear anything terribly interesting. It sounds very... There are a few people speaking in English. Most of them are speaking in Arabic. You don't really pick up anything other than chit-chat. You could push if you wanted to. It's likely if you push that you will annoy somebody. If you fail, you'll annoy somebody that it's pretty obvious that you're trying to listen in on their conversation.
I will push.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh
Oh,
that was worth it.
my, a fumble. Okay, I'm gonna think about that for a second and answer Natalia's. Yeah, yes, Natalia, the answer
Good.
is. So yeah, you are listening to a conversation between two men, and you hear one of them say something about that there's some nosy people about, and that to keep, and one says to keep your eyes open, and the other says, speaking of nosy, in Arabic. And you were kind of leaning in a little close at the bar to try to hear, because they were keeping their voices down. And before you know it, one of them kind of has a rough hand on your shoulder.
Alice tenses up. I'm sorry, I thought I heard you two speaking English. I was just hoping to talk to someone at this party.
They weren't speaking English, they were speaking Arabic.
Oh, I know, but she's playing off
speaking
that.
English. Oh, okay.
They were being quiet, and she thought she heard them speaking English.
Shelley tries to help Alice out and turns on a vapid smile and says, "Oh, finally, someone who speaks English." And she looks over at them and gives them kind of a drunk-looking smile and sidles over.
Okay. The one looks at the other. He has not let go of your arm. And he kind of pulls you over closer to him, Alice. And
She kind of stumbles towards him.
And you can smell bad breath, like it's very cheap cigarette breath. And he kind of puts his face right in your face and looks closely at you. He's about maybe a foot away from your face. And he says, "Why were you spying on me, girl?" in Arabic.
Alice is gonna look confused.
Oh, they don't speak English after all? Maybe we should go find Dad.
You can see the bartender noticing what's going on, and Shelly, try a spot hidden check for me. Okay. He just kind of moves on to another customer. And he says the same thing to you again, Alice. He says, "Why are you trying to spy on me, girl? Who sent you here?"
She looks confused and is trying to play that up.
Shelly
I'm
starts.
sorry if I offended you. You're hurting me.
Are you saying that in
Shelley
English
starts
or
to get
Arabic?
mad.
English.
Okay. Shelly's doing what?
She's gonna start to get a little bit louder, like a kind of drunk loud, and say, "Hey, we're already here with someone. Let go. We don't want to go with you. Somebody find that."
Okay.
Basically trying to cause maybe more of a scene than they wanted.
Yeah. At this moment, the music starts up, and you can see some belly dancers coming out on the floor, which is a momentary distraction. The two guys kind of look out there for a moment.
Shelly's gonna try to tug Alice away if she sees they're distracted.
Okay, why don't you try a strength check for me?
Yeah.
And hold on a minute. Yeah, I need a strength check from you, Shelly. Wow, nice job.
Whoa!
Okay.
Adrenaline.
So yeah, so there's a moment where the guy is distracted, and he just momentarily happens to loosen his grip just enough that when you grab Alice and pull, she kind of comes out of, she breaks free of his hand.
Shelly will immediately pull her into, the crowd and try to lose them, looking for Thaddeus and Natasha.
What are you doing, Alice?
I mean, Alice is kind of going along, and once she gets out of this guy's grip, she kind of holds on to her arm.
Okay.
Where the guy was holding, kind of in pain.
Try a dexterity check with a bonus die. She kind of yanked you pretty hard. Okay, you're fine. So you actually managed to move along with her pretty well. And you can hear him say, "Hey, I'm not done with you." And he kind of starts to follow you through the crowd.
Shelly's gonna start looking for things to knock over if she needs to.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, make an intelligence check for like a quick thinking, see if you can spot something. Oh my.
Now that is my thing.
That's, yeah. So, if you want to come up
Secret
with
door.
something, yeah, there's no secret door. If you want to come up with something, I'll let you invent your own obstacle, as long as it's within reason. Something that you could easily use to get in this guy's way.
Okay, so there's belly dancers that came out.
Yeah, they're up on the stage at present, though.
Oh, okay. But there's people probably watching. the
Oh
belly
yes, there's
dancers.
plenty. There's a lot. There's a crowd has grown. Like it seems like as soon as it gets to be about 6:15 or 6:30, the place is pretty hopping. So yeah, there's a lot of people in here now.
Okay, I would say that she heads toward the crowd of people, and she looks for someone who looks kind of big, and she and Alice, being small, slim people, kind of squeeze past him.
Okay.
But when these people following them kind of brush up against, trying to squeeze through, naturally some big guy is going to be like, hey, what are you doing? So
Yep.
kind of stops for a second.
Okay, yeah. So what happens is you guys slip past this big guy, and the man with bad cigarette breath, who's coming after you, bumps right into this big guy, who then turns and starts complaining to the man, and he tries to slip by him, and the big man kind of grabs him by the arm, like, where do you think you're going? So, and I assume you guys are heading for the door to back to the main, back to the entrance hallway, because that's where the other two rooms are.
Right. At this point, Shelley is not trying to be particularly careful. She's either going to get out with or without Natalia and Thaddeus. But
Okay.
if she sees those other doors, she'll just kind of fling them open.
They're
looking
already
for-
the double doors are already open. Like
Okay. All right. Look for Natalia and Thaddeus, Alice.
Okay.
But she stays with her. She's not going to separate.
Okay. There's the den and the restaurant. Which room do you go in? Actually,
Thaddeus isn't hungry.
make a luck check, because I don't think you discussed
Right.
what. So just try your luck.
They didn't.
See
They
if
didn't.
you make the right pick. Yes, you make the right pick. So yeah, you go to the left to the den, and you can see that Thaddeus and Natalia are there. Thaddeus is having a drink. Natalia has a drink that's mostly drunk next to her, but there is a well-dressed Egyptian man who's kind of setting up a hookah for her. But she hasn't had time to start yet.
Shelley dashes in and runs over and says, "We have to leave. You two can stay if you think it's safe, but we've got someone on us. Goodbye." And she immediately grabs Alice and starts heading toward the exit.
And Natalia looks to Thaddeus, because that man's still there. She looks to Thaddeus and raises an eyebrow. What are those people?
I don't know.
And Shelley, as you and Alice kind of rush down the hall, you can hear there's a little bit of a ruckus back in the main dance area. It sounds like there might be a little altercation that started. And in fact, you can see Omar's interest is piqued, and he is leaving his station to go see what's going on.
She'll go over. Is there anything on his station that could possibly be interesting that she could look at or grab on the way out?
There is the guest book. Other than that, I don't think there's really anything particularly interesting there. Or not the guest book, but the membership book.
Is there anybody else there now that he's left?
No.
She's grabbing that guest book and she's hightailing it out.
Okay. You two go through the main entrance door. There is a bouncer outside now. There wasn't one before, like a very, a large, intimidating looking guy. But he just looks at you as you rush out, with only half interest.
Shelley just tries to giggle and smile as best she can
Yeah.
and keep going.
You both just look like a couple of drunk girls that are lightweights who are already leaving like half an hour in and can't take it. So yeah. He just watches you go.
Once they're out, Shelley is going to walk away from the building and try to maybe turn a corner. Is there a cab or a taxi anywhere nearby?
Make a luck check. Oh my, there's a cab sitting right out front waiting for someone who might want to leave the club early. Like you.
Nice. She looks back at Alice with relief and says, "Oh my gosh, we're in luck. Let's go."
Okay. And Alice will join Shelley in the cab. Thank you for your help. I didn't know what to do back there.
That was close. She puts a hand over Alice's hand and pats it. You were very brave. That was scary. But let's get back to the hotel. I'm sure that Natalia and Thaddeus can find their way back.
Should we not go back to my loft?
Well, we can. I thought you might want to change first. And she gives the cab driver, the address and
Mm-hmm.
asks to take off there in a hurry.
You're right, I completely forgot. Yes, perhaps the hotel is best.
Okay.
Well, I hope they're able to do something back there, but I got this. And she reaches out and pulls out the membership log.
Oh my gosh. I suppose that we can see what we can glean from this, at the very least.
Okay.
Shelley, a sigh of relief as they put some distance.
Yeah, I'd say your hearts are pounding a little bit. But calm down as you get to the hotel. All right. It is ending time, unfortunately. I think if it will work, I would like to do a side session with Thaddeus and Natalia to continue their adventures at the Blue Pyramid Club. Since they did not leave. That should be interesting.
Right.
Yeah!
Oh, yeah.
All right.